I have never talked live before. This is actually my first time talking live. Instead of sitting in the house crying my eyes out today, the state that I'm in right now, I got here in November of the 23rd. I came down here with nothing but my backpack on. I had given up everything. And I decided to start all over again. Before I got here in this state, in the state of Virginia, I was battling a custody battle for about maybe 2, 3 years. The first time I won custody, by the way, this is for anybody who's lost a child through a custody battle, no matter how much money you have paid, no matter the amount of trust that you trusted toward your attorney, and you still lost a child or children. So I was going through this custody battle for a few years. I had actually won custody in the Hampton Juvenile Court in Virginia and turned around, and the other party, which is the father, had filed an appeal. By the way, this is all documentation in the courts, on paper, on documents, everything. The first time I won, it was a man judge. He was typically fair. And usually you think, the guardian light on whatever they decide, the judge decides as well. But not in Hampton Circuit Court during this case. In this case. Exhausted all funds, stressed. I was working law enforcement at the time. That was tough. It was tough to experience. Not only, I don't know if anybody has been through, I'm quite sure people have been through a custody battle where it's exhausting, it's tiring, it's depressing, it's emotional. And how can I go to work? And I have empathy and sympathy for others. I'm a human. I make mistakes like other people do. Working in the jail, it's not my business. Whatever the other person has been through and they're coming into jail, they're not coming into jail because they're happy. They're coming into jail because they've experienced something. They've been accused of something. That's not my business. My business is to treat people fair, to treat people right. My heart is loving and kind, and not a lot of people are loving and kind. So the attorney that I had, he was useless. He was working for them, not for me. Um, It sucks when the outside makes a decision with children and they're not even there. They don't even get it. They don't even give a crap, really. You think you can trust these court people and you can't. You can't. So, I won custody the first time. Father appealed it. Went to court again. It wasn't like these cases weren't quick, fast cases. These cases were long, drawn out. Um, you take time off of work. Your emotional state is compromised during this time. Custody battles, they're not happy moments. They're sad moments. They're exhausting moments. There's a moment of, you wish that the other party can be fair, can be compromising, but then they won't budge. And I'm not placing no blame, and I don't want to place no blame, but it sucks. I ask God, hey, why can't, you know, no matter how nice you are, no matter how fair you try to be, no matter how forgiving, some people still have a hardened heart. So, Hampton Circuit Court, Judge Bonnie Jones. What I know now, I didn't know then. You know, the day that she decided to take my daughter away from me, she had no grounds. All she could say is, I worked, she found out I worked nights, okay, and my schedule's rotating. And sometimes my dad would help me with my kids. She blamed me for that. Too busy of a mother. What about doctors that work long hours but they still have kids? Then she called me poor. Judge Bonnie Jones called me poor. I am more poor than dad. That's what she called me. And the little lady who types in the courtroom, that's all on paper. Bonnie Jones called me poor. I'm more poor than dad. Praise dad because he is military. Then they start having a conversation how she was a military brat and all this other stuff. I literally had a dream the night before court that my child was in the form of a baby, but she was wrapped around her chest. I knew that morning that she was taking my kid away from me. I remember her even saying to me and father that I hope when you get your daughter that you will not be keeping her away from the mom. And that was in December 2024. She ordered me and dad to meet up to drop our child off. Excuse me. Dad picked our daughter up from school, and I didn't even get to say goodbye. Then I remember him texting me and said, "Hey, are you okay?" Judge Bonnie Jones ruined my life and broke up my family. That was December 2024. I left Virginia after that. Went to Delaware for a brief moment. Had a dream of my daughter's grandmother, which they live out in Texas. Then I placed myself in a shelter because I got rid of everything. Once I had that dream, I was determined to go closer to where my daughter was. And if that meant I had to lose everything, then I had to lose everything, and I was willing to start over. Judge Bonnie Jones, Miss Alpha Kappa, literally called me poor. But I'd rather be poor and start over to make sure I'm this much closer to my daughter to where she is. God willing, if it's in His will, then I will see her again permanently. I tried to go rent a car and I called our daughter's uncle. I said, "Hey, we're the birthday, we're the birthday party that they're having." He was like, "Oh, I'll let you know." He wouldn't give me the address or nothing. Sammy Moore thinks I called him back because he didn't call me. And he told me our daughter's father said absolutely not, that I can't see our child. So I missed the ninth birthday. The only way for me to see our daughter was through the grandmother's house. But on January 10th, our daughter's father, Timothy Moore, at the house where I usually go see our daughter because that's my only chance. I've only seen her 2 times briefly since December 2024. But on that day of January 10th, he stabbed his sister in San Antonio, Texas. I went to go get our daughter from the house because I wasn't going to just leave her there. But during that time, I was in the shelter because I literally, remember I said I came here with just my backpack. I've given everything up. I gave everything up so I can just be closer to my daughter and somehow, some way, see her And that was my only means of being able to see her, was at her grandmother's house. With her aunts and everything. But Dad got bailed out after the stabbing incident. And he wanted our daughter back. So I wasn't going to make any trouble. Me being nice. But had that been me, had the shoe been on the other foot, they would have took my child with no hesitation. CPS did not do a darn thing. Nothing. Even though she was there at the incident. I don't trust any CPS. I don't trust no attorneys. I don't trust courts. Every one of them are corrupt. Judge Bonnie Jones, you Alpha Kappa, you ruined my family's life. Virginia Hampton Circuit Court. I know it's a lot of families that have been going through the same issues. The strength that I had to endure to get this far, for this lady to sit in my face and say what she said to me, that I'm more poor than Dad. The strength for me to drop everything, to give everything up, to come here this much closer to my daughter, to start over again, to place myself in a shelter, to get myself on my feet. And to still have a sane mental. You never know what people are going through at the end of the day. I've experienced so many people in the homeless shelter, with me being in a homeless shelter myself, that not only heal myself, but minister to those who also need healing, who also experience the same things that I had experienced, and to still keep pushing forward, still move forward with life every day, at every moment. There was I was on my way to work just last week, and I got in a car with a lady who was driving Uber. And she didn't know my situation, but she talked about the same situation that she encountered, but she was just telling me about her day, and she was making extra money so she can get her grandkids back. I don't know her situation, but I felt she experienced maybe some of the same things that I have experienced. And she said she was getting ready to pay this extra, this money, this little bit of money that she made, so she can get her grandchildren back, because the courts made a mistake. And I told her briefly about my certain situation, and she said, call this lawyer. And the lawyer, I took a screenshot, and the lawyer's name was Paul. But at the end of the day, I refuse to call a lawyer. I'm not doing it, because I don't trust no lawyers, no attorneys. Their job is to get paid. They don't care. They can still get paid regardless. Whatever amount of money that you pay them, whatever fee, that doesn't mean that you will get justice. That doesn't mean that they will be for you. That doesn't mean that they will fight for you. That doesn't mean that they will be on your side. They're going to follow the bar. That's what they're going to follow. They're not going to follow what you need and what's beneficial for you and your family. They don't give a damn. They don't care. They don't care. In the midst of my custody battle in Virginia Hampton Circuit Court, Judge Bonnie Jones, who's now retired, Alpha Kappa. Alpha Kappa, they are not even for you. They don't even care. They don't care. If you aren't Alpha Kappa, whatever, Omega, whatever, they don't give a darn about me, my situation, my family. They messed some coding up in my case that they wouldn't disclose to me or tell me about because I'm not an attorney. They messed something up. They did it without my consent. That's what they can do. My daughter had given me some information, even after court. She gave me some information and she said, "Oh, my dad had paid somebody. That's what he does." I said, What? You know, children are smart, they're not dumb. And whatever you say around them and whatever they hear, they repeat. And that was after court in 2024, before she left in December. Even out here, when I seen her in Texas at her grandmother's house, she said that they went to a restaurant or something and they ran into this lady. And it was a lady who um, her father was talking to that said, oh, the same lady who said something about she's the one that helped. Oh, he repeated this to her. Oh, that's the girl who helped me get you. That told me how to get you for custody. I would never forget that she said that to me at 8 years old. I will never forget that. But things that are done in the dark come to the light. This devil of a Judge Bonnie Jones broken my family up. There is moments that I cry myself to sleep. There is moments that I ask God, why? There's moments that I ask God, why did this have to happen to my family? I remember the Uber driver lady that was telling me that she had lost custody of her grandchildren. And she was picking me up from work. God has moved a lot of things in my life, and sometimes I doubt certain stuff, and sometimes I ask questions why, but God don't have to answer the why, because a lot of times you just have to obey. But she was like, "You wouldn't have this job if you." She was saying to me, she had, why. She didn't ask why, but she was just like, she had, you know, these people take people's children away and they have no grounds on why. They just do. And she was like, you wouldn't have this job if you was that much of a bad mom or or that situation that happened. She was like, because they run your background for this job. I won't disclose what job, but this job is, I can't even explain it. But like I said, I'm a victor, not a victim. In life, we have things that happen to us. We don't know why. Maybe it's to help some other people. Who knows? But in the midst of my walk, when I go out here and I take walks, when I go hiking, I run into some people, and sometimes I feel a um, feeling of praying for people. Who knows? And then they'll tell me their situation, and it'll be the exact same situation or some other situation that requires to heal one another. Whatever they did in my case, they have to answer to God for that. My daughter's grandmother was the only means of me seeing my child at her house until dad stabbed his sister. I literally had a dream about that argument, but I couldn't figure out, like, whoever is out there who has lost custody of their children or their child, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's hope. There's a plan. Judge Bonnie Jones, you Alpha Kappa. I'm going to ask God to bless you because you ruined my family, but you have to answer.